don't tell Matthew. Not actually a Dev Rel, but I have worked with a lot of Dev Rels. And as a product manager, we are professional scientists. We sit there, talk to customers, do research. We make hypotheses. You didn't quite get as nervous as I was hoping, but yeah, that was my hypothesis. So if you've seen Office Space, you've seen this conversation. My guess is that guy actually was a product manager. You know, I take the spec from the customers to the engineers. Well, that's what I do. I talk to the customers, and then I go and I take that to the other product managers and engineers, and we build stuff. And you know, sometimes it looks like that. It's a lot of fun. I really like that everybody's heads are like perfectly still, but they're, yeah. All right. So I found this on DevRel.net from Matthew. And I actually think this is really interesting, how DevRel teams feel this way in between different DevRel teams at different companies. I actually feel this way, exactly the same way about DevRel and product. So product managers, like I said, they sit down with customers, they talk to them, they do research, they bring this back, build new products that solve really interesting customer problems. DevRel has all this information. We should be sharing this information. We want to work together. So something else that's really interesting is if you look at the mission statement for the SendGrid product team, we want to do the same thing that DevRels want to do. We want to create these products that customers love and value. We want people to be really happy. It just works. We all can just build really cool stuff. Nobody really wants to know how email works. They want to come in, copy, paste, and move on with their life. That's what we want from developer experience product team. So there's a disconnect. Part of the disconnect is that our go-to-market times are different. They're completely different. So where is this disconnect? DevRel talks to developers per day, per hour, per minute sometimes. Product people, we'll talk to a couple of developers a quarter or a month. It's just a different economy of scale. So the normal product process, we identify an opportunity, and this could be any number of things. Somebody came and told us how much we screwed up our C# library, if you saw Elmer's talk earlier, or that we need to add this new feature to email that only 2 people in the world have ever done. So we prioritize these based on how much feedback we get, and then we spend some time digging in with other customers that look like these customers that we just talked to. And we try to figure out if this is actually a pervasive issue or not. The problem that we have is we can only work on one thing. We don't get to do 15 things at once. We've got to go research this one thing, go really deep, and make sure that we can actually find a real problem. Once we've found a problem and we can actually verbalize what that problem is, and it's interesting and potentially profitable, hopefully, we actually go and we start building a solution. We'll take a first pass, very much like a UI UX team, and then we'll go and put it in front of customers. And we spend more time with them, and we learn from what we did well, what we did wrong, and we iterate, we do this again. And then finally, if everything goes well, we actually take it to market, we hand it off to our DevRel team and to marketing and to everybody else, and then we all make money, right? This is how it actually goes. I'll come up with an idea. I want to be able to print emails and send them by mail for some god-awful reason. And we go and we test that out. Well, it's not really a problem. Nobody really wants to do that. Maybe grandma, but she's not bringing in a lot of profit. So we go back. We pick a different idea. We go through the whole loop. We go over and over and over again. This is one of the biggest reasons for the disconnect. Our product team has to be able to justify spending time with engineering, and engineers are very, very expensive. So some of those 250 people that were up on that last presentation, those are engineers, right? These are people that have been coding for 10 years and now decided to go into DevRel. They're worth every penny, so are the engineers at your team. All right, so we'll talk about one of the examples. If you saw Elmer's talk earlier, this is what he was talking about. We decided that we wanted to come out with our libraries very quickly so that we could actually give our new mail send endpoint as well as all 300-something endpoints that we had in our libraries. Before, we had one endpoint in every library. So we were talking about orders of magnitude different code, different lines of code in each library and all of that. So we said fluent interfaces, reflection's awesome. It's a super easy way to do this. Well, that kind of blew up on our face. Go. Let's see, so C#, we totally screwed that up. We learned all about our moms from the GitHub community. Let's see, Java and Go are static languages that just, you can't do that. And then the other languages all work perfect. And it was great. But we really actually, that hypothesis was just wrong. And we had a really hard time actually getting to customers. We didn't have anybody who had opted in to be contacted. We put everything out on the repos, but our repos had been dead for a year. Like, nobody had been in there, only people looking for support through a different channel. We hadn't been actively doing anything to gain people's trust. So one of the ways that we can gain trust is by having personal one-to-one connections. Again, to refer to the previous presentation, the things that are most effective for us: events, one-on-ones, and hackathons. It's because we're spending time with developers. We're showing them that we're real people, we're not trying to sell them, and that we deserve their attention. And once you have a developer's attention, you now have the opportunity to ask them to opt in for more. You can say, can we go talk? Things like that. So here's my hypothesis. We can actually work together to drastically improve developer experience as a team, rather than completely separate, kind of angry at each other because you guys get to travel all the time and get to go have really awesome beer in various countries, and we're super slow. We actually work together. Maybe you guys can take me on a trip. That'd be sweet. So how do we do it? Or okay, we'll get to how do we do it. Let's look at what we've got. So developer relations, you guys have all the developers. Product, I need them. Oh, I also put random builds in just because it's fun. You'll see. So we need feedback, but you guys have it in real time. You guys are able to immediately test something. You know, we talked about that go-to-market. You can just build something and see what happens, right? We can't do that in product. We don't either have the skills or the resources to be able to do that. And by resources, of course, I mean real engineering people. We all actually want the same thing here. We want amazing developer experience. We want our developers to tell all of their friends that we did this amazing thing and that we actually give a shit. We have that empathy. We have listened. We know what we're talking about because we've spent time with you. All right, so what can product managers do? We should tell you guys what our roadmap looks like. What's in our opportunity backlog? What are we thinking about? What are we hearing? That way, if you hear the same thing, you can tell us. Or if you're not hearing that at all, you can tell us. So that way we can save some time. We're not wasting our time chasing, printing emails. I didn't actually do that, just so you know. We should also feel okay to come to DevRel and say, can we have some help? We need people that look like this. We need people who have used this feature, that maybe use this competitive product. So we can ask them what's really working over there. Why'd they choose this thing or that thing? We need people in our Node.js library to tell us that, you know, the way we did Node is just not great. And then once we have these results, we need to follow back up and we need to tell the DevRel team what we learned. So we spent extra time with these developers. We learned this thing. Please, if you hear this again, we want to know. This helps us to sell the product back up the chain to be able to get the engineering time to go and fix these problems. So conversely, if you're on a DevRel team, ask the product managers what they're up to, right? Product may not feel comfortable coming and talking to you, so go bug them. They actually they are real humans. They're not all assholes, some of them. But they want to talk to you. They want to know what's going on in the community because you're going to be able to save them time. And you make them look better. And as soon as they can release that product, it helps you guys. And it's a nice symbiotic relationship. If you learn something, share it. You know, in the US, we say if you see something, say something. Same deal. If somebody's complaining about this authentication mechanism or this endpoint totally sucks because I have to do all these extra hops, bring that back. And every time you hear it, bring it back. If you can bring it back with one of these, it's super helpful. That did work good. I did that without looking. Bring a gregarious developer back. Give me their contact information, get their permission for me to contact them so I can have this in-depth conversation. I'm going to ask all kinds of questions. You know, what's your GitHub username? How many kids do you have? What else do you do on the side? Because I want to try to get into their mind a little bit, ask them what they do, and then I'm going to dig in on the thing that I need to know. And that will help us out a lot. if we do this right, we get to cuddle. I found that when I was looking for that Friends GIF, and I was just like, yeah, I got to figure out how to make that work. So really, I think the opportunity here is to work together. We can actually make everything move faster. We can build better products for our developers, and we can build better products that we're proud of taking out in the world and sharing with everybody. Thank you.